This is part 2, the Chapter 9 practice test for Algebra 2. So the first 2 questions are circles, and you're asked to find the center, the radius, and graph them. So for number 1, the center is just the opposite of this number and the opposite of this number. That gets you your point 2, -4, which is right here. And then to get the radius, you take the square root of 8, which is roughly 2.83. So you go just a little under 3 in each direction, up, down, left and right, and then you draw in your circle, right? Number 2, first thing you need to do is you need to get this in the correct form. So you want to group your x's together and complete the square. If you add 16 to this side, you have to add 16 to this side, and then you want to group your y's together, complete the square. If you add 1 to this side, you have to add 1 to this side. And then write them as your binomials. That gets you your center at -4, -1. Combine these numbers to get 9. Take the square root, which is 3. Graph your center, and then go 3 each direction, up, down, left, and right, and there's your circle. Then we have our parabolas. So for the parabolas, if you're given your equation in vertex form, it's pretty easy to get this vertex, which is -3, +1. So it's the opposite of this number, but then it is that number. That's also going to help you locate your axis of symmetry, which goes right through that vertex. This parabola opens down because it has a negative sign out front. That makes the vertex the max. And then I use the t-chart to say, okay, here's my vertex. So I picked a couple points to the left and to the right. And I found that I have 2 x-intercepts, one at -2, and one at -4. And then to find where it crosses the y-axis, I plugged in 0. So if you plug in 0, you get -8. So there's a y-intercept at -8. Number 4. You want to factor this trinomial to x -4 and x -2. The 2 numbers that we'll plug in are 4 and 2. Those also happen to be your x-intercept. There's one at 2, and one at 4. Once you've found your 2 intercepts, you find the vertex by getting the number exactly in between, which for this problem was 3. So I plugged in 3 to the original equation, squared it, multiplied by 6 and subtracted it, added 8, got -1. That is your vertex. It also happens to be your minimum since this one opens up. And your line of symmetry is at x = 3. Right? To find the y-intercept, I just plugged in 0 and got 8. Right? Flip it over to the back. On the ellipses, right, you want to find the center by taking the opposite and the opposite. So you have a center at -1, -2. Then you take the square root of each of these. That means your x stretch is going to be 6 each direction. Your y stretch is going to be 5 each direction. Almost looks like a circle, but not quite. You're going to find the foci by completing c² = 6 a² - b². Always put the larger number first, and then that should give you roughly 3.32. The major axis is 12. I just got that by doubling this, or counting all the way across, which is 12. And the minimum, or the minor axis is 5 + 5, which is 10. Right? For number 6, you want to write it in the correct form first. So start by adding 36 to both sides, and then divide everything by 36 in order to set it equal to 1. Simplify if you can, and then you're going to notice that your center is going to be at 0, 0, because nothing's being added or subtracted. Take the square root, take the square root. So your x stretch is 2 and 2. Your y stretch is 6 and 6, which makes your vertices at 0, 6 and 0, -6. Find the foci by plugging it into the c² = a² - b². Count your major axis, so 12 this way, and your minor axis, the shorter one, is 4. The last two, the hardest ones, the hyperbolas. So you're going to, if it's in vertex form, you're going to find the center by taking the opposite of the number here. So because the x and the y are switched, you need the -1 and the +2. So your center's right there. And then your x stretch should be 4. So 4 this way, 4 this way. Your y stretch should be 2 and 2. That creates your little box. Okay, then you're going to take your ruler and draw in your asymptotes. And then decide if your parabola is opening up or down. So this one's going to open up and down because the y term comes first. Okay, I found the foci by plugging it into c squared equals a squared plus b squared. And then I just counted the conjugate axis was 8, the transverse axis was 4. Okay. Last one. First thing you want to do is get it into the correct form. So I grouped my x's together, factored out a 9, and completed the square. Looks like you're adding 1 here, but you're actually adding 9 because 9 times 1 is 9, so I added it there. Then you group your y's together, factor out a -16, and then complete the square. You're actually adding a -16, so when you combine these three numbers, you should get 144. So if you divide them all by 144, you'll get 1 on the right. Reduce on the left if you can. That'll get you your center and your stretch. Square root here and here, that'll give you your stretch. This will give you your x stretch, and this will give you your y stretch. So plot your center, which is at 1, 1, and then after you go each direction, you'll find that your vertices are going to be here and here because you're going to open left and right. You're going to find the foci by plugging it in. Your conjugate axis will be 6, your transverse axis will be 8. And then just make sure you plot your foci here and here. I think I forgot to point it out here and here.